Hi guys, this is Heather, and you are looking at cute little Henry, and this is Create Your Own Cozy. Today I'm going to be working on this ottoman, which is Henry's favorite nap spot. We have had this ottoman for a while now. I was looking to make an ottoman that was round and couldn't figure out quite how to do it without getting a form, and then saw this guy on Facebook Marketplace for $15, and it came to us in perfect condition. And then our family got to it. Between the kids and the dog constantly being on it, the faux leather just started peeling. I had already planned on redoing it, but this was just confirmation. So the inside has this table-like feature, and the outside has this faux leather. So we will see how Henry feels about me messing with his piece. I removed as much of the faux leather as I could, just so it wouldn't be flying around between the new upholstery. So to recover this ottoman, I got a drop cloth off of Amazon, and I will show you a picture right here of what that looks like in the package. I went ahead and washed it and dried it so it smelled good and it was soft. And now I'm trying to decide on this big piece of fabric, what part am I cutting for the round part on the top and the long rectangles for the edges. So I decided to cut the piece for the top first, since that was the most surface area I'd be needing. And to be honest, it is easier to rip this fabric than to cut it, but I decided to keep cutting. And now I'm just making sure that I have all the stuff ready and the right pieces cut out before I move to the next stage. So I'm going to be using a total of 3 pieces of fabric, 2 along the sides, which means there's going to be a seam, and then 1 for the round top. And after I make sure I have everything set and ready to go, I'm going to give it an iron. And as you can see, Henry is seeing, what in the world is Mama doing to my bed? Next, I am covering the wood portion of the inside with 2.5 coats, 2 solid coats, and then the third coat is watered down a little bit just to kind of give a smooth coverage of this white chalk paint, just so that the inside matched what I was about to be doing, and I didn't want to grab the paint after all the fabric has been added. After I finished painting, I sanded it with 220 sandpaper just so it has a smooth finish, and the mess was gone. I have plans for the inside in the future to do something kind of fun, but for now I'm just going to do a nice white finish so that it matches. I would love to hear what you guys would do to the inside. Would you do a stencil, decoupage, add some words or something funny? Let me know in the comments below what you would do to this inside table. Next, I am starting with the staple gun. I'm making sure that the end raw seam is straight, and then making sure I am pulling that fabric taut over the edges so that there's not any creases, and just going from top to bottom until I get the hang of this. This is my first time recovering a piece of furniture. Surprise, surprise. But I had seen it enough that I was pretty sure this was going to turn out. So I just keep going. You put the staples a lot closer than you think you should. Almost think of it like a thread stitch, that you need equal pressure on both the top and the bottom of this to keep the fabric from moving around. Next, I'm trimming the excess fabric. Only do this part when you are happy with how the fabric is laying against your piece. If the fabric's still on there, you can always take it out from the staple and readjust, but once that is removed, it's very hard to do. So I am happy with it and just kind of getting rid of the excess so I have more moving room. Also, you need to put your staples closer together than you think. Imagine them being like a stitch pattern with thread, and that you pretty much need that tension on both the top and the bottom the whole way across, especially since this is a rounded surface and there's turns. So what I'm doing here is having to do little pleats, as you can see on the inside, but making sure you cannot see any of those pleats or creases from the outside. Starting with the rounded surface is probably not the best first project, but I usually don't pick stuff that's easy. Another thing to note is to take your time. If you see something that slightly bothers you, it will continue to bother you. So it's better to kind of bust it out of the staple and readjust by pulling it tighter than to be done with the whole project and hate that one spot. Right here, I'm using the finished edge of the drop cloth so that there is a finished seam overlapping the unfinished seam of the other side. It's kind of just a cheat since I had to use two pieces. So I made sure that seam was straight and I stapled the top and the bottom and then kind of worked from there. I'm working back and forth and tugging and pulling so that the visual on the outside does not have any pleats or creases. That is the beauty of working with a solid piece of fabric for my first one. If this was a stripe, that would be a totally different tutorial that I am not ready to give just yet. But one day, And again, notice how close my staples are to each other. It's better to have too many than to have things that'll snag or lose its tightness and then your piece doesn't look finished. So this is where the two pieces meet up. I basically want to end with this finished seam over the top of the other one. So I folded the unfinished side off so I didn't have it too bulky, and then just cut that end, stapled that in, and then pulled that finished seam. See that edge of the drop cloth where it looks like it's been sewn? Yep, I didn't get out a sewing machine. So I just make sure that that is straight by doing the top and the bottom, and then work from there. This was probably the hardest part, is when the two different sides met up. And basically what I had stapled before was no longer working for me. It had a little bit of a pucker. So the staples did not want to move. So I just busted it out. And as you can see, there's a little hole in the fabric. But that doesn't even matter. Just pulled it tight so that it could all work together. And then that hole ended up being cut off anyway as part of excess fabric. So this little last piece was probably the toughest to get it to sit right. And then I was like, do I just leave these two creases? That will drive me crazy. So the answer is no. So they wouldn't budge with the needle nose pliers, and I just pulled a little hole in the fabric. And stapled in the new spot. Do this extra step even if you are frustrated and done, because if you're anything like me, not taking the time to do it would drive you more crazy in the long run. Next, I'm starting with the round top and laying it flat and deciding that I want my staples to go all the way up against the wood. So I'm going to get the bottom kind of situated, have it tight, and then figure out how to kind of make the fabric go around without having any pleats on the front. Starting on a round piece adds a different level of complication, but it still can be done. Just have to make sure your pleat is underside and does not show up on the side being shown all the time. So after I get a pretty big section done, I make sure it's tight and it looks like it's smooth, and I go directly to the other side. When I pull it tight, nothing that's going to make it crazy, just tight enough where wrinkles are out. And I start with like 3 that are kind of far apart and then go to the other side and do the same thing and kind of do it in a cross type pattern so I can work the edges in. I keep working my way around and looking on the opposite side to make sure that I'm pulling all the wrinkles out. Now I'm going around and just making sure that they are pretty much right beside each other, so it's nice and tight and there's no reason for this to come apart. Even if Henry does something crazy, I've set this up for success. I did the last bit of trimming on the inside, and now I'm working on a green sack stripe on the top. I found the center and a wide piece of tape to kind of give the spacing of where my paint is going to be, and that's my center stripe. Then I'm using those green stripes as my place where the paint won't be, and then making 2 small stripes on the side. I did another tutorial about some tables where I was more in depth about creating green sack stripes. So if you're interested, be sure and check out that video on my playlist. Then I took some mineral chalk paint and just brushed it back and forth, making sure I went both directions so that the chalk paint could get into the fabric from multiple directions, but making sure not to go too hard on the tape. After 2 coats, I ripped it off and it was beautiful. The final step for this is going to be using 220 sandpaper after it's completely dry, just over the paint sections so that it is soft. But check out Henry. You okay, Henry? Henry? Henry. But he is okay. It's okay. It's okay. So this is the end of what I'm doing for today's video. The video was getting a little long, so I thought this would be a good place to stop. If this was the end of your project, make sure you add a couple of coats of Scotchgard, since it is an off-white color and where feet in my dog is going to go. Scotchgard would help give it a little bit of longevity, but I'm not looking for perfection here. What I'm considering doing is adding some type of grain sack looking stamp or coffee bean sack kind of stamp, but this is just a reminder of what it started out as, and it seems like Henry is on board. So let me know in the comments below what you think. And if you like this video and are new to my channel, I would love it if you would subscribe and let me know what you think. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you again next week.